Hello, my name's Beverly DeGale. I am wife to Orin and mother to Daniel and Dominique. In April 1993, when Daniel was 6 years of age, he was diagnosed with an aggressive blood cancer. For weeks prior to his diagnosis, Daniel had been suffering with flu-like symptoms which wouldn't go away. But when he developed pains in his legs and bruising over parts of his body, we took Dan back to our GP surgery and suggested that they should do a blood test. That evening, Daniel was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. We was immediately whisked off to Great Ormond Street Hospital and treatments commenced. A few days later, Dan asked if he was going to die. Can you imagine hearing those words? We were completely shocked, stunned. Thankfully, one of Dan's nurses was by his bedside, and she immediately jumped in and said, Dan, we are all going to die one day. You currently have an illness, and it is our job to treat it and make you well. But for now, you must stay here with us. Somehow I found my voice, and I said to Dan, do you have any more questions, baby? He looked up at me and said, no, Mummy. He held me tight. All I could do was wipe away my tears and hold him tighter. 2 years of treatments commenced, and 2 years later, Dan was in remission. He was leukemia-free. The doctors at Great Ormond Street told us we could go home and get on with the rest of our lives. But 9 short months later, Daniel suffered his first relapse. The leukemia had returned. It was at this stage that doctors started talking to us about bone marrow stem cell transplants. We was told that Daniel would not survive unless we found him a good match. All our family was checked, and we was told that siblings have a 1 in 4 chance of matching. Daniel's sister Dominique was checked. She was not a match. And so we looked at the World Register of Potential Donors. Very few black or mixed race people had ever registered, and we was told that Daniel had a 1 in 250,000 chance of finding a donor. And so myself and Orin set up the ACLT charity in 1996 in an attempt to find Daniel's donor, but also to assist others that found themselves in this awful situation. 3 years later, in 1999, Daniel's donor was found. A born-again Christian from Detroit, Michigan, USA, was found to be Daniel's perfect match. It had taken 6 years since diagnosis for us to find Daniel's donor. And during that time, he had received so much chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and other treatments. But at this point, we had found his gift of life. We were all overwhelmed. Daniel went back to school in December of the same year. And then in 2006, he was able to go off to university. But it was around this time that Daniel started to suffer with other complications. Some he could fight, but not all. Daniel's body was much frailer by now. And so those he couldn't fight, unfortunately, overwhelmed him. We lost Dan on the 8th of October 2008 from multiple organ failure. I've thought back many times since then about a conversation we had with one of the doctors a few years earlier who had said she had no idea what the long-term complications would be for Daniel's health following all of the chemotherapy, radiotherapy and other toxic drugs that he had to receive whilst waiting for his donor to be found. And so this is why we are asking you all today to sign up as potential stem cell donors, so that people like Peter and others like him have a far better chance of finding their matching donor sooner rather than later. We want to try and ensure that Pete, his wife Jen, and their 2 boys have a much better future with your help. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Oren Lewis. I'm the co-founder of the ACLT. More importantly, I'm the father of Daniel DeGale, who desperately needed a stem cell transplant. This is about giving the gift of life. It's a presentation about how someone like you can make a massive difference for someone who needs a stem cell or bone marrow transplant to eradicate a condition like leukemia or plastic anemia, lymphoma, multiple myeloma. There's a myriad of blood cancers that sometimes defy the chemotherapy and radiotherapy and then needs a stem cell transplant to aid the patient to live a normal life. So why do we need more donors? Well, ethnicity is key to this whole process, and most of the registries around the world are actually populated with people from white Northern European descent, which is fine if you're from that background. That's not to say every white person finds a donor, many don't. If you're from the black community, or Asian, mixed race, and other ethnic minorities, chances are far reduced because of lack of numbers. So it's a numbers game. So we're committed to providing hope to patients, but there's a difficulty. And the difficulty is trying to find the actual donor. So it's like trying to win the lottery. As they say with the lottery, you've got to be in it to win it, and to get lucky. And it's the same thing with being a stem cell donor. You've got to be in the system. And unless there's health issues, or you're too young under one age, or too old over the upper age, there's no reason why people shouldn't register. So you order the kit, and you're a few clicks away from doing that as you watch this presentation, and order cheek swabs, and they'll come in 2s and 3s, and if you get them for a minute each side, put one inside the cheek of one side and rub the inside of the cheek for a minute. Take the second one, rub the inside of the cheek of the other cheek for a minute, and if there's a third one, do it on the other side again for a minute, and then package them all up, send them off to the registry. And in real time, what happens is that the registry does a real-time search, because this is a worldwide search, and you're joining 38 million people around the world joining the UK registry, which has 1.5 million. And if you get that confirmation and it's in the form of a donor card like this, then it means you're on the registry, but you just don't happen to match anyone in real time right now. Who knows, in 6 months, 6 years, 20 years from now, what might happen? You might suddenly be the one. But the myths and fears and taboos are all, the problem that's stopping people registering. Myths like, you're going to clone me. No. You're going to tamper with my DNA. No. You're going to pass my DNA to the police for stop and search purposes. No. By the way, we hear that a lot from younger people. You're going to take my bone marrow stem cells from my knee, my hand, my spine, my leg, and you're going to do it with a massive drill or big needle. No, it's done in a process like giving blood. That we need to get away from all those things. Oh, we will pray for people. We say pray. Whoever you pray to, please pray, but use the prayers alongside the technology, the science that works hand in hand with your faith to save lives. I haven't got time. I haven't really got time to stop and listen to this. And we say, please give a few minutes, listen to the facts, come off the phone, just listen, and then decide whether you want to go forward or not. So once we get through all those barriers and people have registered, get on with life, and in the hope that maybe one of us can be the actual donor. And if we are the actual living donor for someone as a stem cell donor, then the process is very simple. You sit down there for about 4 hours in the hospital, and you start this process, which comes after a series of preparatory work that's done to enable you to donate something that looks a bit like fruit juice. Out of one arm, your blood is into a machine. The machine keeps the stem cells as a fluid, but gives you back the blood in a vein in the opposite arm. So your blood's going round and round very slowly, no more than a cupful ever leaving your body. And what you donate is about 5% of the total bone marrow cells in your system. And that's given to a courier. You get up, plaster, and you are on cloud 9, because you are the winning golden ticket for that person. You're giving the gift of life. And the courier's gone around the world through the customs at the airports, and when he gets to the other end at the hospital, at the isolation room, where the patient's been for about a week, then this is just slowly drip into their bone marrow system. When all the cells have gone in, the cells, imagine the picture, the cells are looking at this new bone marrow system and going, come on girls and guys, let's go and populate and do our stuff and grow. And the good cells that are left in the bone marrow system of the patient see these foreigners, and they actually have a bit of a ruckus, a bit of a rumble, because they see foreigners, and they suddenly realize, actually, why are we fighting each other? We're like brothers and sisters. I know brothers and sisters have a bit of a fight as they're growing up, but actually they need to work together, and they work together arm in arm, and they start to provide healthy blood cells. But it will take 2 to 5 years before the patient gets the all clear. It is a marathon, not a sprint for the patient. And if they do get the all clear, they can go on and live a normal life. That happened for Daniel. It took 6 years before Doreen Carney in Detroit, Michigan, USA, did exactly that, less than a year after joining the registry. So you know, if you are the donor, that's the process. We, as the ACLT, we found well over 150 donors along the way, of all ethnicities, and we put well over 150,000 people onto the stem cell registry. So we're very proud of what we're doing. We know it works. And so just finishing off, we're looking for heroes, superheroes, if you like. And it doesn't matter if you think you are Batman or Wonder Woman or Superman or Black Panther, just step up to the plate. You never know, you might be that one. So in summary, in closing, really just want to say, together we can save more lives today and in the future, because the sands of time are sifting very quickly for patients who need stem cell transplants in comparison to us who have good health, okay? We're going to live to a good old age, but their time's running quickly and they need that match. So time is of the essence. All ethnicities are needed. You know it makes sense. It's a call to action so that we can all show our donor card to everyone and say, you need one of these as well. And my question to you as I close is, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jenny McLeave, wife to Pete, who was diagnosed with a type of blood cancer, myeloma, 3 years ago. The diagnosis was, of course, a massive shock, a moment I will live with forever. Our normal life was no longer normal, perhaps for me made more difficult because my approach was often different to that of Pete's. For example, he would ask questions to the consultant about the severity of living with myeloma and timescales. I found these conversations very uncomfortable and emotionally hard to come to terms with. It's hard when told you may not get to enjoy old age with your husband. But campaigns such as 10,000 Donors, which are greatly supported by charities like ACLT, DKMS and Anthony Nolan, in broadening everyone's awareness of the importance to become a potential stem cell donor and to sign up to a register. Please don't let what happened to us happen to your family, where a chance was offered through stem cell therapy, but to then be taken away because of lack of numbers and diversity on the register. The fact you are here today and taking the time to listen to Bev, Oren, Pete and myself gives me great hope, not just for the future of my family, but for the future of thousands of other families the world over facing the same battle. So thank you.
Both Bev and Oren are very much pioneers in the field of educating the world on the power and simplicity of stem cell registration and donation. They've been doing this for over 25 years and, as you've heard, have worked tirelessly through ACLT to right a very fixable wrong in the underrepresentation of members of all minority ethnic communities, whilst also promoting the process across the whole spectrum of our society. As you have heard, they know through first-hand exposure to cancer what can be achieved if we all work together to help one another. To open yourself up to the scrutiny of the public by sharing quite possibly the most painful of experiences, it takes courage and a vision of a much greater good than one's own immediate situation. And I'm saying this because I would like you to have this at the forefront of your minds to appreciate what is being shared today, given that you've taken time out of your busy schedules to engage with us. So far, you've heard about the first-hand lived experience of facing a cancer diagnosis that has the potential to be managed, even cured in some instances, but about the difficulty patients face in finding their match. That is a heart-wrenching conversation we all want patients of today and beyond to avoid. I had that conversation with my GP 3 years ago, where I was given at the age of 39, with a wife and 2 young boys, a diagnosis of an incurable blood cancer called myeloma and a prognosis of 7 years. Unless I could find myself a stem cell donor, that is, in which case I could have every aspiration of extending that 7-year projection. Today, like too many patients the world over, I am still searching for that elusive match. The clock is ticking and I'm acutely aware of that. I'm also acutely aware of the odds being very much stacked against me in my search for that match. As Oren has already articulated, patients who are not white European are by a significantly disproportionate odds less likely than their Caucasian counterparts to find a stem cell match. Currently, only 2% of the UK population are registered as potential blood stem cell donors, and of that 2%, just 13% come from minority ethnic backgrounds. If you're a white Caucasian heritage, you have a 60% chance of finding a donor versus 20% for patients of all other communities. With the proportion of people of non-white European heritage projected to make up about 20% of the UK population by 2051, it is vital that today we influence the representation on the organ and stem cell registers to reflect the diversity that we're going to need in future, so each and every one of us has an equal chance of finding our match. From a human and a moral perspective alone, these figures drive me to right this very fixable wrong. Lives are being lost right now for a simple lack of diverse representation. But I also have a second motivator to speak of on the subject, and it is very much about diversity. Superficially, I know I appear white Caucasian, but genetically, I'm a very diverse mixture of Chinese Portuguese, known as Macanese, English and Irish. This mixture makes my search for a match, per the statistics I've mentioned a moment ago, just that bit more challenging. We all have a match, our genetic twin out there somewhere, and it's now my job, working alongside charities like ACLT, to find them for us all, and I will find them, I believe that. It might be you, it might even be someone in your network, but that is the challenge. And the challenge I'm directly speaking about today is actually very simple to overcome. It's one of diversity, it's one of numbers. And the more people we can encourage to register, the better the odds of all of us of having our match on file should we ever need it. And it's not just for beating blood cancers. There's work being done in the field of motor neuron disease, paralysis, dementia and sight restoral, to name but a few. This technology has the potential to help so many people in need of this pioneering treatment. But it is heart-wrenchingly hampered by so few people being registered. 2% of the UK population and 0.4% of the global population are today represented on that list. That the process of registering is no more complex than taking 5 minutes out of your day to swab your cheek makes the underrepresentation even more frustrating for those of us searching today. But at the same time, it's hugely motivating, as it can be so easily remedied. The kits, as you've seen, very simple to use, will be sent to your home, even with a prepaid envelope, to really take away any of the hassle and the cost for you. It genuinely is a very simple ask, but it does require one act by you. It's about taking advantage of a gift that I think you, me, most of us probably take for granted every day without even realising it, and it's the gift of choice. That you are watching this presentation tells me that you are motivated to want to help others. You had a choice to attend and stream this or not to, and you chose to do so. You also have 3 further choices to make right now, which could literally save a life, maybe even mine. I'll be sharing a link very shortly, which if you click on that, you can go directly to the charity and register for your swab kit. It'll be sent to your home, you can return it in the prepaid envelope, and through 5 minutes of swabbing your cheek, you then go on the register to potentially become a lifesaver. At the very least, even if you're not matched straight away, you will have swung the odds in the favour of all patients looking for their match. Second ask, you can spread the message across your network. This is of equal value to registering, because the real key now is getting more people aware, getting them on that register, and you know people and you have influence across that network of yours. So even if you talk about it, share the link that I'll be sharing shortly. That is directly, again, influencing the odds against us. And the third thing, none of this comes for free. There is a cost. It's £5 for each kit and £40 to process. And we don't ask you to cover the costs of the kit. The real currency, the real value in what we're doing here is getting people registered. But if you've got a few spare quid to do it, throw it the charity's way, always very, very welcome. You do have those choices to make right now. Your decision, unlike the majority you might make in the course of a standard day, literally has the potential to save a life. And at a time in our history when division between us all as people, it feels so rife, often toxic, where our differences are preyed upon daily and generate combative dialogue and interaction, here is an ask that in one simple act can bring us all together to save lives. We've got so much more in common than not as people. Cancer is indiscriminate. It's a disease that doesn't care. It doesn't care about your gender, your ethnicity, your bank balance or your religion. And I see this as a positive thing. Its indiscriminate nature can be used to bond us all against this common enemy. And unfortunately, we're all likely to face it in our lifetimes, either directly or indirectly, given the statistic of 1 in 2 of us being likely to be exposed to cancer in our lifetime. Our ask is that for this moment, right now, we all come together and help one another. Lives, especially of those of people of non-white European background, have been needlessly lost. Through nothing more than a simple cheek swab, this can be remedied. So please, click on the link I'm about to share to register for your kit and share and spread this message as far as wide as you can. Thank you.